Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
All right, we're a couple minutes late. I appreciate everyone's being here in a timely manner. We had a 1 o'clock probation violation hearing in the matter of Allison Faye Osmick. The file number is 23646FY. Ms. Osmick is here with her attorney, Paul Gibson. Also present is her probation agent, Daniel Frazine. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Osmick was placed on probation on a resisting and obstructing police officer as an attempt, which is a misdemeanor. And frankly, we've had some struggles here. Daniel filed a probation violation petition in September, alleging that she was placed on probation on June 5th of 2023 for 24 months. That was in September of 23. Failing to pay fines and costs, failing to abstain from the use of drugs or alcohol, failed to participate in treatment, failed to obtain ID or social security, and failed to seek or obtain full-time work. Hearing was set in that matter for October 25th of 2023, and the defendant didn't show up. So a bench warrant issued on got my wrong notes. Bench warrant issued. Anyway, Miss Osmick got picked up on a bench warrant, and I saw her on January 10th. She was in jail. She said she'd last worked at Applebee's in Kalamazoo. She pled not guilty to the probation violation, and we appointed counsel and set the matter for hearing. And that's where we are today, I think. Is that correct, Daniel?
That is correct. You also had her test on the 10th,
Yes.
which was positive for THC in that.
And she was off the grid for
16 months.
16 months. And then when we saw her, like everything was hunky-dory. Well, I let her out. When I first got here, I thought, well, I'm just going to leave her there. But here we are. So, Mr. Gibson, what's our current circumstance?
Well, I've read the petition and the probation status report to the defendant. I've explained to her her rights regarding this hearing. I mean, in speaking with her, my impression is it sounds like that she was not back in September of 2023. She hadn't done the things that Dan was wanting done. Today she has provided me with a letter from someone that works at Applebee's that indicates that the defendant has been employed at the Applebee's on West Main in Kalamazoo since June 24th of 2024. She also has some time clocking sheets. So I believe that this is legitimate proof that she is employed. She explained to me that many times when she was on probation, she was willing to test. It was this, she didn't have the money to test. I've explained to her that is considered a violation of the probation.
Well, we've been working on that, but I gave her a test in January and she's positive for meth. So
I'll be clean today for sure.
So I guess the question is, do we need to have a hearing, or is she willing to admit that at the time of the filing of the petition that she'd failed to pay fines and costs, she'd failed to abstain. Basically, the only thing she needs to admit is she went AWOL for 16 months. She failed to appear for the hearing on October 25th and didn't get arrested until some happenstance 14 months later. And Ms. Osmick, are you willing to acknowledge that you violated your probation by failing to report for your probation violation hearing and failing to report for probation for more than a year?
Yes.
Or do you understand you could have a hearing regarding that? Mr. Gibson's here to represent you. and Mr. Frazine would be prepared to testify regarding these allegations. And you'd have to be found guilty beyond at least a preponderance of the evidence that you had violated those terms of your probation. The one you're admitting to isn't going to be very hard to prove. We didn't hear from you for years till you got accidentally arrested. So you're willing to admit to that?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Well, then I got to figure out what to do. You don't always tell me the truth. And part of it has to do with your addiction.
I have
And-
been clean,
Well,
like, this whole time, since I got out of jail.
all right, well, so, okay, then what do we do about everything else? You didn't do any of the stuff I ordered you to do on probation.
I got my.
You skipped out, well, and then now you're here. So, can I see that documentation from Applebee's?
I did speak to a manager there and they did confirm it. And they said she was a good employee as well.
All right, good. That's why I let you out of jail.
No, I know.
Now bear in mind what the original sentence was.
I'm hoping to keep it that way. Keep my job and
The original.
keep going ahead.
All right, the recommendation was 136 days in jail, 60 from the courtroom, 60 deferred. So when I did the original order, I gave you 136 days, credit 16, 120 to do, and you did 60 then. So there's some days hung over your head. To count resisting and obstructing. And that was in June, and by September, we'd already lost track of you. So between the date of the sentence, which was June 5th, and the date of Daniel's petition.
Well, I've changed a lot in the past couple of years.
Okay, well, I don't know, because you were still positive for meth in January.
No, I understand that, but I'm still doing a lot better.
So by September 20th, so June to July to August to September, within the first 90 days, the wheels had fallen off. And then you just skipped out. So that's not a very good probation. You do 90 days of probation, abscond, then come back a year and a half later and say, well, I'm all good now, except for the fact that you were still positive for meth when I saw you in January.
Well, like, I guess the reason I didn't show up for that was because I was going to test and I was not, they weren't testing me because of the money,
Well, so, and I understand that.
you know, and it was just really frustrating.
In fact, I just came from the meeting I was at during lunch, was to try to find money to pay for drug testing. And the problem is, most of it has to be for opioids. But I think we're gonna get some money from the opioid settlement to do drug testing. Ultimately, it'd be up to the county commissioners, but I've been working on finding sources to pay for testing. It's interesting, people have money to pay for the drugs, but they don't have money to pay for the testing. They get opioids, fentanyl, heroin, whatever, and they get methamphetamine, but they can't pay for the test. That's a terrible
lost
catch-22.
I lost my job when all this happened, so that's why I didn't have any money.
All right, well, let's talk about the things that were in the petition. Find it again.
If I remember correctly, if I'm going through my notes, the only thing I believe that she has actually done that she didn't do back then was she now has a job, a steady job, and she must have got her social security card because she has a job.
And my
Other than
ID.
that, everything else would have been a wash.
Okay, Where's the darn, I had it up. Here it is. I'll make a note here.
And some of her testing could have been avoided because she would have gone to the Hope House. But she just decided she wasn't gonna go to the Hope House
I
after she got
volunteered
out
for
Gilmore.
that.
So that testing could have been provided if she went to the Hope House, but she.
Yeah, I was looking for a place for her to be. We've had a number of difficult cases today of young women that are just trying to.
I just saw Monica last week and she said they still have openings at the Hope House.
Well,
I live
she
in
can't get from
Middleton.
Hope House to her job in Kalamazoo.
No,
but,
she'd have to get a job down
Um,
here, but.
And I have a place that I'm living too.
All right, well, let's find out what happened. All right, we have a hearing October 25th. You don't come. So by September 20th, things already weren't going well. So where have you been since October 25th of 2023?
Kalamazoo,
All right, doing what?
working.
All right, when did you get the job at
Well,
Apple?
I started there in June, but I was trying to get a job
All
before
right,
then.
so what did you do from October of 23, September of 23 to June of 24?
I found my boyfriend, me and him. I mean, I was living with him and trying to find a job.
Well, I think he was part of your problem.
No, he wasn't.
All right, he
No.
wasn't one of the
This is
sources.
a new, no, this is a good guy. He's a good
Oh.
guy.
All right, so why did you think that was okay? You just quit showing up and look for a job from September to June, never call your probation officer, never check in with
Well, I
us.
tried calling him and I talked to him, but then I was wanted, so that's why I didn't, I mean, all honest.
And I accept that. I think that's pretty candid. Yeah, you had a warrant for your arrest. You tried to stay under the radar.
And I tried to talk to him about it and he didn't.
Now,
wanna
that
listen to
warrant was
so-
me.
Right.
And so you needed to come in here. And he didn't have the authority to say, well, no. And so you didn't want to come in here because you were afraid I was gonna put you in jail.
Right.
So you do whatever from September to June. I have no idea what you were doing.
I
You
was trying
weren't,
to find a job.
all right, well,
and find a
so what
place
is,
and-
all right, so you get up at 10 o'clock and go to bed at 11 o'clock? I mean, trying to find a job isn't an occupation. I don't know if
I
you
mean,
went
I didn't do anything else. All I was with my boyfriend and trying to live. I mean, trying to survive and trying to get myself
all
better.
right, where were you trying to get yourself better?
I was
How?
living with him,
All right, which is where?
in Kalamazoo.
Kalamazoo is a big place. What's your address?
Well, my address right now is 2203 South 11th Street,
All right, and where is that?
on the west side of Kalamazoo.
I believe that's that motel, right?
Right, but I've been there since October.
Yep.
And I'm not a big fan of that either.
I mean, I pay a lot of money to live there.
I know you
and,
do,
uh,
and they're not good places to be. They're a
I
bunch
mean, I
of,
work all the time, so I'm really not there that often. I'm there to sleep and sleep and shower, and then I work every day pretty much.
what does your boyfriend do?
He's now living in Chicago and he is a production manager for a meat company in Chicago.
So he's not helping with your rent?
No, I pay it all myself.
The motel rent is like super expensive. How
I pay
much?
$55 a day.
Oh,
Well, it's not as bad as some.
It was a little bit more, but because I've been there for so long now, it's went down.
That's almost $1,700 a month.
And I have to pay for rides to work, so that's another, yeah. I pretty much work to live. Just to get to work and to pay for a roof over my head right now.
So So what is that? That means you're just a drone, going to work, coming home, living in a
Well, right
crappy
now-
apartment, going to work, coming home, living in a crappy apartment.
I've been looking for a new apartment, and with my tax money, I'm hoping to have at least enough for a deposit on a place. Cause that's what's been stopping me, is I just haven't had like the deposit money to move into a place. But now I'm getting my taxes, once I get my taxes back, hopefully that's gonna be enough. Cause I've been looking really hard for a place.
What did you do to get your ID?
I had to get my birth certificate from my ex, and I think that was just it. My birth
Where were you
certificate.
born?
Here in Michigan,
Of what county?
Van Buren County.
All right, well, you could just go to the courthouse in Paw Paw and get it,
Yeah, I got it, and then I got my ID. I have one.
but you don't have a driver's license.
Right, I have a state ID.
Okay, and that's all right.
And to get my driver's license, I'm going to do that too. I just have to pay off my tickets and pay the reinstatement fee. And my tax money will go towards that also, because I have like a judgment or whatever that is gonna take that.
A civil judgment
Yeah,
that someone's got like a seizure of your.
like, I think it's Kalamazoo County, because I got tickets there. But they take my state taxes. Like, I'm trying to get everything in order. I mean, I'm 40, I need to,
Yes, you do.
I'm trying to get everything in order.
Daniel, what's your thought here?
Well, Your Honor, I don't really want to sound like a pessimist. However, I'm dismayed. It doesn't take 9 months to find a job. I mean, especially.
It does when you have the.
Stop,
Excuse me.
I'm
stop,
sorry.
stop, stop,
I'm
stop.
sorry.
She got a job at Applebee's, so it's not like she spent 9 months looking for an Abbott or Pfizer in Kalamazoo or something like that. She could have gotten a job at Applebee's within that 9 months. So she just did her own thing. Then in January, she's tested positive for meth and THC. So she can afford marijuana, which is really expensive. The meth's probably cheaper than the marijuana. She presents as being, oh, life is hunky-dory and I'm doing better. But she's really, other than getting her social security card and her ID, which she had to do to get a job to make ends meet, she's living in a week-by-week hotel, which is not a good situation for somebody who's struggling with, and still obviously struggling with meth. And the fact that she just said, heck with you for 15 months. She didn't like what I was telling her because I told her she had to come turn herself in to deal with this. So that's why it didn't go well. Again, she's trying to sugarcoat. So I think she's not even a contemplative point at my point. So I would say she needs 60 days. And if it was up to me, I wouldn't give her a break.
Well, I appreciate that. The problem is, it A, makes her lose her job, B, makes her lose her housing. So I give her 60 days in jail and she's penniless, standing on the front steps of the St. Joe County Jail. But she's on an extremely poor job on probation, and then it's all poor me.
Mhm.
So let's do the drug test and see what we're dealing with.
I think Autumn's down in the office.
Yes.
The reason I only got a job at Applebee's is because the
Hi,
charges,
we need another instant drug test. All right, thank you. Bye. I don't want to demean your job at Applebee's. I mean, not everyone's gonna go get a job at Stryker. I like it when I go to Applebee's and there's someone there to wait on me. So there's honor in every job. So
I'm good at, like, I don't know, I like it. I'm good at it. Like, I'm a people person, so. And I
but
did try to get another job, but it said, like, my background said that, when my background checks come back, because I was trying to get a housekeeping job at a retirement place, and also a housekeeping job at the hotel I was living at. And both of them, my background checks came back bad.
well, you got a criminal history and you got a bunch of baggage.
And that's
on
why
you.
I didn't get those jobs.
Yes.
You
And
know,
so-
a better job. And then I was scared that I wouldn't get another job that was a better job. So like, I went to Applebee's because I worked there before and
And I don't want to denigrate that. You work in some place. That's the only thing you got going for you. The rest of your stuff is BS. There's an ex-boyfriend who's gone. There's a current boyfriend who's wonderful, but he lives in
oh
Chicago.
no, that's the same one. No, that's the same one.
All right, well, who's,
My
So-
ex is my kid's dad and he's the one
Yes.
that tries to,
all right, and he's the one in Chicago?
no.
Well, the one in Chicago.
The one that when I first was living in Kalamazoo, he's the one that was the Chicago. He's that guy. I've just been with him the whole time.
All right, well, apparently not much help. He's in Chicago and you're here paying $2,000 a month to live in a crappy hotel.
True.
So he's not much of a
Well, he wanted me to
resource.
get this stuff handled and like, we're gonna work on, coming together.
All right, I want you to go with our probation
Okay.
agent, Autumn, and we're gonna do a drug
That's fine.
test and see what we're dealing with. Thank you, Autumn.
Just marijuana, Judge.
All right, thank you. Thanks a lot. I interrupted your day twice and I appreciate your assistance.
No problem.
All right, so that's not good either. There's a condition of your probation that you don't use any drugs or alcohol. I told you I was gonna test you and you kept smoking weed between then and now. So that's
It's been in
not,
your system too for a while. I don't smoke weed that much.
Mr. Gibson, I never gave you an opportunity to give any additional input. What would you like me to know?
Well, I guess maybe I can understand the court's dilemma because the defendant, she was ordered to obviously take certain actions and she didn't do it. But since then, on her own, she has made some positive steps. So, I guess, we obviously know that many people in our county are struggling with methamphetamine. So although I understand that she didn't do what she was told to do, I think she really has shown that she's putting forth effort here in the last year. So I don't know if the court would consider potentially extending her probation, but if that's not an option, I don't know if there's some type of community service that could be ordered, something that would require her to, allow her to keep her job, but if she still owes the court money, the fact that she's working at Applebee's now, she could hopefully start making regular payments. She did tell me today she might be able to make a payment toward her financial obligation today. So, I'm just asking that the court factor in that she has gotten this job at Applebee's and she is working hard. And even though she does pay a lot for her apartment, she has been able to do that by working at Applebee's. So, thank you.
Let's go back to what the original charge was. We kind of lost sight of that. On April 11th of 2023 at 2:43 in the morning, out in the country, way out in the dead zone, Londick Road at M66, you were in a vehicle accident. It was determined she was operating under the influence of methamphetamine. A citizen had called about a vehicle that had traveled across his property and seemed to have crashed into some trees on his property, which rendered the vehicle immobile. You were out of it. You crossed the highway and crashed into some trees on this guy's property. He called the police. Responding officer approached the vehicle. They had trouble even getting to you and getting out. He made contact with Ms. Osmic, who was hostile and uncooperative. That resulted in a resisting and obstructing, and the responding fireman tasing Ms. Osmic 4 times in the process of trying to, take her into custody. she was eventually arrested and taken to the hospital for a blood draw.
I was drugged that night, like, I've been trying to say it to everybody, but I was drugged and I was trying to run away, like I was trying to get away from the people that were doing it. And that was the whole thing. I was just trying to get away and I was trying to get to my kids. That's all I could think in my head was trying to get to my kids. And I mean, I don't remember the accident, but, or the being up in front of the officer or the firefighter or whatever. I don't remember any of that. But I was definitely drugged, like I was.
Well, and what you said, you met some guy, Nick,
Yes.
who was different than the boyfriend you had then and the boyfriend you have
Right.
now. A guy she sort of liked. He took out 2 syringes. She had no idea what was in them.
Right.
So you basically injected something into yourself that you had no idea
I
what it
didn't do it.
was.
He did it, but yeah.
Um,
And I wasn't willing to do it at all. He held me down. And the only thing I could grab when I ran out was my keys. I grabbed my keys and I ran out the door. I didn't even have shoes on. I didn't have shoes. I didn't have my purse. I didn't have my phone. I didn't have nothing. I just grabbed my keys and ran.
all right. So I put you on a probation. I put you in jail to
Mhm.
try to detox you. And and so I sentenced you on June 5th. You did 60 days in jail, which would have taken to about mid-August, and then you split. So you didn't do, you did jail and then you left.
No, well, left.
Yeah,
I was still going to tests and everything.
yeah, for about a month.
Right.
And by the 20th of September, he filed for the probation violation
Well,
petition.
that's when I was going to test and I didn't have the money, so I got violated for not having money.
Well, we never got that far because you didn't show up
Yeah,
for the
no, I
hearing.
did.
Um,
The hearing was for afterwards, I thought.
no, it was part of the petition. And if you would have said I didn't test because I couldn't pay for it, I guess we would have discussed it.
No, that's exactly why.
All right,
I was
okay.
even driving from.
All right,
to
so
Fairburn.
that makes it okay?
No, I'm not saying
So,
that.
okay,
No, I'm
bye.
not saying that. I'm
You
just
know, you
saying I
did
was
this
driving there and I was willing to test.
plus,
I just didn't have the money.
I got it.
Okay.
So as of January, you're still using meth.
I
Um,
haven't.
As of today or recently, you're still using marijuana. You haven't been on any supervision since I let you out of jail. Did she contacted you since I let her out of jail? She was still on.
Yeah, she did. She
Okay.
did call me. She called me a
All
couple
right,
weeks
all
ago
right,
and checked in with me.
So the only reason I don't just put you in jail, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna put you in for the balance of a year. Not 60 days. I'm gonna do 300 days.
Oh, my.
So, in for a penny, in for a pound. But if I put you in jail, whatever day you get out of jail, you will be unemployed and have no money and no job.
And no stuff, none of my stuff.
Yes, and so that's the only reason why. But I'm tired of your excuses for everything.
Okay.
It wasn't my fault. Somebody injected me, some guy, some guy's a rotten guy. Another guy, I have a boyfriend who may or may not exist in Chicago, but he doesn't provide me any financial support. The only thing you got going for you is you're working all day. Now, you're spending some of your money on marijuana and you don't have very much. So at least you've been clean from meth long enough to not test positive today. Meth is my concern. It's not marijuana. It's not even alcohol.
No, I'm done with it. I'm done.
If it was that easy, everybody would be done.
Well, I mean,
Um,
I've been clean this long. I'm good. I'm really good.
You've been clean sometime between January 10th and February 19th. That's
The
not
whole
very,
time, I mean, yeah, I mean,
that's not very long.
I get that, but I am done with, like, in my head, I'm done.
Well,
with
I
it.
hope you are, but it's not as easy as that. And are you on the tipped wage?
Yes,
So You're
For
making
tips.
like $2.17 an hour plus
I think
tips.
it's 340 something maybe, and
Uh,
then tips.
and your tips are recorded on here. How do they keep track of that? Do you have to share
We have
tips?
to, we
Pull
have
your
to claim a
tips?
certain amount of it, like 10% of our sales, I believe it is. You have to claim a certain percent of your sales, because they just, they expect you to be getting tipped on based on.
Do they
sales.
pool the tips or do the waitresses get their own tips?
No, we get our own tips, but like at the end of the night, people that have paid with credit cards and stuff, like we'll get that. We do a checkout, it's called, and like it breaks it all down and does all the math for us. So then the cash that we have is our tips, or is our money, what we make.
All right, you were ordered to pay your probation oversight fee, $777.54 for medical reimbursement for the injuries to the firemen and the policemen, and $255 police reimbursement. So the total amount, of which you've paid zero. Because it costs money to be on probation, unfortunately. I don't want you to be unemployed and I don't want you to be penniless, but I don't want you to be without a sanction either, because you had your own plan. You didn't do anything that I ordered you to do except get a job. And then it took you 8 months to do that. So I don't know what you were doing between the time you got out of jail and the time you got arrested again. Tell me again, I'm trying to look up, how did you get arrested in January?
Somebody apparently called, like, so I must have an enemy, I guess. And somebody called and said that I had a warrant and that I was working that night. So the police officer said he happened to be in the area. And he stopped at Applebee's and got me.
So they arrested you right at work.
Yes,
That probably didn't impress your boss too much.
not so much, no. It was pretty embarrassing.
All right. But I let you out of jail on January the 10th. I ordered test as directed, which we didn't do any, but you took a test today. May not leave the state of Michigan, provide all contact information of the probation department, no drugs or alcohol. So then you did continue to keep smoking dope between then and now. So again, you didn't comply with everything I had ordered. I think I got your attention when I said, if I do violate this, I'm going to give you the whole balance of a year.
Yeah.
And then when you're unemployed and penniless, it will be a year from now or 300 days from now rather than 60 days from now. And maybe I could set up some sort of a plan for you while you're in jail. Daniel said, I don't mean to be pessimistic, but I am too. I'm not sure you can do this. But if you don't, I'm going to give you 300 days in jail.
I'll do it. I'll do whatever I need to do.
I've been trying to get her involved with services because she'd probably qualify for Medicaid and Medicare and could get free counseling, but she hasn't taken advantage of that yet, so. And I know Pivotal here will actually give you bus passes. I don't know what they do in Kalamazoo or not.
Well, she doesn't live here anymore, and so she's not eligible for our stuff.
Not ours, no.
Who's your friend that brought you here today?
That's my sister.
All right, well, thank you for that. So you do have somebody out there. Tell me about this Chicago boyfriend. How often does he actually show up?
Usually like every other weekend.
I'm not real sure about that. And I don't like you living at the hotel
I'm trying to get out of
with a
there.
bunch of
I'm
other
really
people
trying.
who are on the fringes, using, selling.
I don't talk
drugs.
to anybody there. I saved myself. Cause I don't even know anybody really in Kalamazoo. Says people I work with. But as soon as my tax money comes,
All right, just
Sorry.
stop.
Okay.
I didn't ask you anything, and nervous chatter is a
Okay.
is a distraction. It's also a methamphetamine thing, but I know today you're not positive. Your probation is continued. You can't comply with the things you like and not comply with things you don't. You continue to use marijuana when I told you not to. When you were skating on thin ice. The only thing you did is keep your job and not test positive for meth. So I don't know what you've done since I saw you last, but you're not positive today. Another 2 days in jail, which the sheriff doesn't like. We're gonna have to schedule this. And the probation is continued with all conditions. When you say you're looking for another apartment, do you have your applications in at
I
places?
have a couple places I have put
And
my,
how much are those per month?
well, there's, the one I put was $30 and then there's another one that was 50.
What?
You have to pay for applications.
No, but how much is the monthly rent?
Oh, the monthly rent, the one was, I think it was like $850 and then the other one was $795.
Yeah, that would save your income by half.
Yes,
All right, if the wheels fall out of this, I'm just gonna pull the pin and you're gonna be able to be a trustee next summer at the jail. Cause I'm skeptical, but try to remain hopeful. But I'm not doing you or me any good if I let you out of jail without any plan. All right, jail, goodbye. And we're gonna do testing. No drugs, no alcohol, no marijuana. You don't have money to spend on marijuana.
true.
And not the world's gonna come to an end if everybody smoked marijuana, but when you're on probation, you can't use it. But that doesn't bother you much. Daniel's not thrilled about this because he's still stuck supervising this. And we're gonna see if we can make this work. If we can't, I'm gonna give you a big bunch of jail time and I will work with Pivotal or somebody to find a place for you when you get out of jail. But it won't be till next fall. Also, I want you to find better housing.
Yes. I want to.
All right, Daniel, I'm sorry. We'll see if we can make this. You essentially were on probation for about a month. You got out of jail sometime in August. By September 20th, he had already filed the probation violation
I got
petition.
out July 24th.
Okay. All right, so August, a month and a half. That ain't much of a probation. We didn't accomplish. Then you did, I don't know what, between then and the time you got the job at Applebee's. All right, and the sheriff, he doesn't really want weekends right now, but I'm not gonna put you in jail immediately because you'll lose your job when you miss your shift. So we're gonna have to schedule when you're gonna do this jail time.
What jail time?
You gotta do 2 days in jail for continuing to use drugs when I told you not to.
Okay.
The rest of it is your poor performance on the original probation, and that's still hanging over your head. All right, Daniel, I'm sorry. You go with Mr. Frazine and he'll,